this is a quote unquote no body homicide.
Were you truthful or untruthful in that first interview that you had?
Andrew was murdered in your car with a gun, wasn't he, sir?
Yes, sir.
You told the police that the car came that way. You cut the carpet out and then you lied about it. The car had been detailed 2 times within 36 hours.
Why did you do that?
I was trying to distance myself from anything that had to do with that.
Court is aware this is a quote unquote no body homicide, which is not really a legal term. That's just a factual term that's easy to apply to a case like this. But where a body has not been found, Michigan case law voluminously supports that the people can proceed with a homicide prosecution, that it is not required to have a body. These were the only traces found of 38-year-old Andrew Watson, who disappeared off the face of the earth. During the drive to Georgetown, Andrew received a phone call. Ms. Ryan will describe that the person on the other line was hostile, was yelling at Andrew, and in response, Andrew was saying, quote, "I'm on my way, I'm coming, don't leave." That he was in a huge rush to get to Georgetown. The person he was meeting was angry, and Andrew needed to get there ASAP. Was that there was only one floor mat in the back, and that was right behind the back passenger seat. And when they picked up that floor mat and they looked underneath, what did they see? Police observed that a large piece of carpeting had been cut out from the back passenger seat, right behind the passenger or the front passenger seat. The evidence is going to show you in this case that the defendant got the car detailed the first time on January 13th, 2021 at 1 p.m., only 13 hours after the defendant claims to have left Andrew Watson at Georgetown.
He started to leave, and then I said, "You got money about to fall out your pocket." And his dad said, "I told you about walking around with all that money on you like that. Stop carrying money like that, because anything could happen." And he said, "Oh, I just had it in my pocket because I was supposed to go play poker today."
When you saw money in Andrew's pocket, how much money did you see? A little money or a lot of money?
It was a lot, because it was like he tried to fold it in half, but it was like this bulging out of the top of his sweat pocket.
It's been 5 years since your son disappeared, correct? Correct. And has his body ever been recovered, sir?
No.
Were you aware of how much money would be involved in the games that they would be playing?
Yeah,
How much?
10 to 20,000.
10 to 20,000? And ma'am, the times that you were present, looks like you described anywhere from 3 to 5 times. Who would typically win those games? Would it be Andrew or would it be Willie or both?
Andrew,
Do you recall what's the most you ever observed Andrew win in the times you were present from this person we've named Willie James?
22,000.
What did Willie James say to you about how much money Andrew had on that night?
They had a lot of money on them.
And what did he tell you about how much money Andrew had won from him that night?
That he only won like 3,000.
And what were you able to see inside the case?
I saw 2 cell phones and some rubber gloves.
Was that unusual to you?
Yes.
Did that cause you some concern?
Yes.
All right. When you saw what was inside of it, what did you decide to do?
I set it down on the ground outside and called the house.
You did not see who or whomever had discarded or left that bag in your yard, is that correct? And based on your own personal knowledge, you do not know when that bag arrived in your yard, is that right?
Yes.
And you don't know under what circumstances that bag arrived in your yard, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell us approximately how far geographically is your home from that geographic address, Beaujard? How far is that away?
Maybe a quarter of a mile.
So your house is a quarter mile away from Beaujard, ma'am?
About that.
On that floor, it was just it was like a piece of remember like carpet, but it was like cut out, like someone had cut out a piece of carpet on the floorboard behind the front passenger seat. It was very uncommon. In all my years, I've never just seen a little square cut out of a car in any of my vehicle searches like that from what I can recall.
Did this cause you some suspicion as a police officer at the time?
Yes, sir.
Did you conduct phenolphthalein testing on the fabric portion that we just described?
Yes, I did.
And what was the result of the phenolphthalein testing, please?
It was positive, indicating the possible presence of blood.
Now, can you tell the jury, please, when you observed reddish brown staining on that glove, where was the reddish brown staining on the glove located in exam glove A?
The exterior side, as received, of the thumb portion of the glove.
What was the result of the phenolphthalein testing that you received on the exterior of the glove in the thumb area that you just described?
It was positive, indicating the possible presence of blood.
Can you tell us what something called hemosticks are?
A preliminary test to give us an idea if what we're seeing is actually blood or not. Test for hemoglobin in the blood.
And how do you use hemosticks when you're processing a vehicle?
You'll wet a sterile swab with sterile water. You'll rub it on the suspected blood. You'll touch it to the hemosticks, and if it turns green, it indicates presence of blood.
All right. Now, when you cut open and looked at the area of the back portion of the driver's front passenger seat after it was cut open, what, if anything, was visibly apparent to you at that time?
There was suspected blood.
And did you come into contact with that item?
Yes.
And did you look inside the item?
Yes.
Can you tell us what was contained inside of these?
There were, I believe, 3 cell phones, a pair of rubber gloves, and a half of $20 bill.
I'm showing you People's Exhibit 180. Is that the front of that third phone that you observed?
Yes, it is.
Again, coated with suspected dried blood.
Correct.
And 181 is at the back of that cell phone.
Yes, it is.
And that is again coated with suspected dried blood. Is that correct? All right.
And in your time working CSI, did you ever come across the information that like cleaning products and stuff could or do show up when blue star is applied to them?
It does, but the reaction is different.
So there is some reaction, but it can be different from the blow.
Yes. In my experience, when the blue star sprayed on like bleach or cleaning agents, it will flash bright for just a second, and then it will go away. Where with blood, it will stay illuminated blue for some minutes.
Right next to the window, we noticed a little mark right next to the window. Based on the circumstances of what we're looking at, we thought possibly at the time it could have been from a bullet strike, but at the time we had no way to either confirm or deny that. And due to the irregularity, size, shape of the bullet strike, that tells me that this bullet must have either been deflected off something or passed through something before it hit this door. If I were to fire a gun and it would go straight into that door, it would be a regular shape, a circle, that would be very noticeable, very easy to see. But because it was small and irregular, that tells me this was a small bullet fragment traveling at a lower velocity because it hit something before it struck that. So keeping that in mind and the fact that it had been cleaned, it made sense that we got a much smaller reaction for the lead and the copper.
What was the total cost of the detailing that happened that day?
$175.
So now in total, in the 36-hour period between when the defendant described in an interview that he had last seen Andrew Watson, within that 36-hour period afterwards, how many times had that car been fully detailed?
Twice.
Was that consistent or inconsistent with information that the defendant gave you during his initial interview on January 29th, 2021?
It was inconsistent.
All right, thank you. So with respect to Spotless, the first time that Ms. Nguyen contacted Spotless Detailing Store on the date of January 13th, 2021 was what time?
8:12 a.m.
The first time that Omni Nguyen contacted Lansing Detail on the morning of January 13th, 2021 was what time?
8:14 a.m.
All right, thank you. how can detailing a car affect the presence of biological evidence in that car? For example, blood. Could it clean it out of that car?
Yes, it could.
What about fingerprints? How would it affect fingerprint testing inside the car?
It could also remove fingerprinting.
What about DNA evidence? How could it also affect DNA evidence obtained in that car?
It could also remove DNA.
In fact, detailing cleans all of the surfaces, not just once, but twice, correct?
Correct.
And professionally, correct?
Correct.
During the totality of this investigation, did you find any information corroborating that Willie James III or somebody was in possession of that car that night?
No.
Did you find any evidence to show or corroborate that Willie James III did anything to Andrew Watson that night?
No, I have not.
So based on the DNA typing results from the rear passenger floor stain, it is approximately 15 octillion times more likely if it originated from Andrew Watson than if it originated from an unknown, unrelated contributor.
All right. What, if anything, does that mean verbally, please?
So in general words, what that means is this analysis provides very strong support that Andrew Watson is the contributor to the rear passenger floor stain.
To summarize your testimony on the wearer ID portion of the glove, there is very strong support that Andrew Watson and Willie James Jr. are both contributors of that wearer ID. Is that correct?
Yes,
And with respect to the red-brown staining on the thumb, there is very strong support that Andrew Watson is a contributor to that staining on the thumb. Is that correct?
yes,
And Willie James Jr. was excluded as a donor to that red-brown stain.
yes.
And again, if you're looking at a particular DNA sample on something like a glove, you're unable to tell us whether that originated there from touch or contact DNA or whether that came there from transfer DNA. Is that correct?
Correct. I can never say how DNA got there.
And I believe you stated earlier in your testimony that just because someone's DNA is on that glove does not mean that they personally touched the glove. Is that correct?
A total of 54 separate cellular phone contacts between the defendant Willie James's phone and Andrew Watson's 3 respective phones in that date range. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Calls on the 323 number. He indicated that this call went off network at approximately just after 12:09 a.m. The phone call that we see here at 6:34 a.m., is it shown in this particular item here or no?
It is not.
Okay. Would that be consistent in your opinion as an analyst with the phone being off the network at that point in time?
Yes.
So it is a 0-second duration call that is not hitting off any towers. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay. After this date on the 13th, when we see these last 3 text messages, at any time, if ever, were there any more calls between Mr. James's 896 number and Mr. Watson's cellular phones?
Not that I'm aware of.
Looks like the whole carpet has been ripped out. When you sold that vehicle, was it in the condition that we see here?
Absolutely not.
Sir, while you were the owner of this vehicle, had anyone ever been seriously injured inside of the vehicle?
Not that I'm aware of.
Had anyone, while you owned it, ever bled extensively inside the vehicle?
Not that I'm aware of.
During the time that you owned this vehicle, sir, had there ever been a gun fired inside of the vehicle?
Absolutely not.
Given the no body aspect of this case, Your Honor, we don't have any testimony as we would commonly have in homicide cases as related to the approximate time of death, the method of the death, or any instrumentation of death. There has not been any such weapon that has been recovered or has been presented here during the course of the case in chief that they believe to be connected to the suspected homicide of Mr. Watson. Certainly no such weapon has been recovered on any of the possessions of Mr. James, either on his person, in his vehicle, or in his residence.
We are not rewarded for being good at getting rid of evidence to include getting rid of bodies. And that is why no body prosecutions are authorized and legal in the state of Michigan. All of that culminates in the fact that there is blood inside of that vehicle. That blood is DNA identified as Andrew Watson's blood. And where blood is let, Your Honor, that is presumptive proofs of a violent criminal action, especially when coupled with that sudden extreme disappearance. Who had the opportunity? This defendant, to be lethal. Well, the defendant is then interviewed, Your Honor, and while the defendant does not make admissions of his culpability. The defendant lies about his connection to Andrew Watson. He lies about blood in the car. He lies about the carpet being cut in the car. Those admissions show consciousness of guilt for lethal actions. They are also indicative of cover-up, and not only is there cover-up inside of the car by cleaning the car and getting it detailed 2 times, there is cover-up by getting rid of phones.
It is the job of the jury to look at all of the evidence, the relationships, the disappearance, the opportunity, motive, whether it's a cover-up or not. It is very clear that defendant was the last person to see the missing person, who has been missing and clearly missing with all of the evidence that law enforcement did with the various databases. He is not here. That is clear to me. How he passed, what the circumstances are, there is ample evidence for the jury to make their conclusions as it relates to this defendant, first degree, second degree, guilty or not guilty. That is their prerogative, not mine. Your motion is denied. You understand that you were called by defense to testify in this trial.
Yes.
And are you planning to testify or not testify?
Not testify. I'm using my Fifth Amendment.
All right, we appreciate you showing up, and it is your right to not testify in the Fifth Amendment. So you are released from subpoena, ma'am. Thank you very much.
You said you did not end up leaving and taking Skrill home. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Why not? Why didn't you end up taking him home?
So when my son asked me to use my vehicle, and I told him, yeah, but he would have to.
Did your son mention anything unusual that may have happened in the car while he was barring?
He mentioned so I would not do it. He mentioned that they was at a party and they ran into some ops and they got in.
So what was he saying about what happened in the vehicle?
He said that they ran into some ops at a party, got into a fight.
Did you or someone else make any type of arrangements to do anything about the car to get it cleaned in some way?
Yes.
Who did that?
Well, I came in and I had Amy call to see if she could line up each other in the middle.
And is that something you directed her to do?
It wasn't.
What did Sticka tell you about what happened to Skrill on the night of January the 12th in your Yukon?
Or I said that they didn't know who was in he didn't know who was in the truck.
When you say he, who are you referring to?
He said they stopped at a store, went to the store, screwed around a bunch of money.
And what happened next in the story as Sticka was reciting to you?
He said that when they came out the store, back in the car, they know pistol whipping.
Who started pistol whipping whom?
Stick started pistol whipping Skrill.
Did he say where Skrill was located at in the car? Sitting in front of Sticka?
Skrill was sitting in front of Sticka.
Where was Sticka sitting?
The back passage.
Was your son Willie the Third driving the car, did they say?
Yeah, he was driving.
So, did they get into the car, or did they stay parked, or did they start driving?
He started driving.
Once they started driving, what did Sticka say happened next?
They started.
After he started, I believe he said pistol whipping.
Right, as it was paper pistol whipping. Skrill was tossing the bag. And,
And you what?
It's on.
What did he say they just started?
He said that when he got out and it's found, he looked over and seen a bag. So they were like, "Murder,
Did you say what was in the bag?
2 bombs."
And how did you do that? How did you cut that carpet out?
With a box cutter. So I pulled it over, grabbed it, and
And what?
threw it out the window.
Did you throw it out your window, the driver's side window, or did you throw it out the passenger side window?
That's the shot.
And Mr. James, were you truthful or untruthful in that first interview that you had with detectives at the end of January 2021?
I was untruthful.
Untruthful?
Yes.
Did you see Andrew Watson be killed?
Absolutely.
Were you present when Andrew Watson was killed?
No.
Did you, Mr. James, kill Andrew Watson II?
Absolutely not.
And after 5 years now, with your testimony here today, sir, there is no more mystery that Andrew Watson was in fact murdered. Isn't that correct, sir? And there is no longer any mystery that Andrew Watson was murdered inside your vehicle. Isn't that correct, sir?
Correct.
So, sir, this is no longer a no-body homicide case. This is a homicide case. Isn't that correct, sir? Andrew was murdered in your car with a gun, wasn't he, sir?
Yes, sir.
And you're not doubting that or denying that. Isn't that correct, sir?
No.
All right. So again, sir, this is no longer a no-body homicide case. It's just a regular old murder case. Isn't that correct, sir? So you'd agree with me, 66 calls, sir, between or contacts between the 10th and the 12th, right? That's my question.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of calling. That's a lot of contacts, right? It is a lot of contacts. Sir, you were asked by the police about a cut in the back carpet. Isn't that correct, sir?
Correct.
And you told the police that the car came that way. Isn't that correct, sir?
I didn't tell him the truth, Dominic. What I told him that it was the truth.
Well, your answer was it came like that. Okay, sir, if the video bears that out, would you agree with me that's what you said?
That's what the video says, yeah.
And that would have been another bald-faced lie that you told the police that night. Isn't that correct, sir?
No.
You didn't want the police to know that you had altered the condition of the interior of that vehicle. Isn't that correct, sir?
It's correct.
Right, and so that was an attempt by you when you cut that carpet to cover up evidence of Andrew's murder inside that car. Isn't that correct, sir?
I was just curious to see how much blood was down here.
But sir, when you cut the carpet out and then you lied about it, that was a very specific attempt on your part to lie to the police to cover up Andrew's murder. Isn't that correct, sir? And in fact, sir, the car had been detailed 2 times within 36 hours of Andrew's disappearance. Isn't that correct, sir?
Correct.
You could have told the police, yeah, my car got detailed. Who cares if my car got detailed? But you chose to lie to them about the car being detailed. Isn't that correct, sir?
Yeah, I knew I was going to let that detail twice.
Yeah.
But it was coincidental.
Yeah, that's not the question, sir. The question is you lied to the police about doing something that cleaned items out of that car. Isn't that correct, sir? And you chose to do that, right? And speaking of bullet damage, sir, you agree that there is in fact bullet damage inside of your vehicle in the location of the passenger side door. You agree that's bullet damage, don't you, sir?
No, I don't know what it is.
Okay. Well, you agree, sir, that Andrew was shot inside of your car. Isn't that correct?
I agree.
And you agree that a gunshot wound was the cause of Andrew's death inside your car, correct?
What I was told.
And agree that he was in the front passenger seat when that was committed. Isn't that correct, sir?
From what I was told.
So you would agree that what I'm showing you on the screen here, that's the bullet that hit Andrew in his head and went into the side. Isn't that correct, sir? So let's look at the last voice call, because you said, what, Andrew was on the phone? Is that your testimony?
Correct.
All right, so we have a last voice call at 11:49 p.m. Would you agree with that, sir?
Sure.
All right, so would you agree that that's the approximate time that what you allege happened, where you gave Andrew the money and your son took the car, that's the earliest that could have happened, is that right?
11:45.
11:49. Sound right?
The earliest is 11:45.
All right, so somewhere around 11:45 to 11:49, is that correct? Because you would imagine, sir, if Andrew Watson was shot in the head, that would have been a horrendous mess inside of that car. Isn't that correct, sir?
I've never seen anyone shot in the head.
Sir,
So I don't know.
but I mean, you would agree with me, sir, if someone gets shot in the head, given the amount of blood that was in your car after 2 detailings, that car was a bloody mess. Isn't that correct, sir?
I never seen how much blood was in there.
Okay, well, sir, realistically, I mean, it's not an unreasonable inference if someone is murdered by being shot at close range in the head, that there would be a tremendous amount of biological fluid in that car. Isn't that correct, sir? So your testimony, sir, is that they were able to, at 11:45, get in that car, drive to a store, go into the store, see the large amount of cash, drive, shoot Andrew in the head, drive over to Trapper's Cove, look for your friend, for your son. He's not there. They're able to leave the body there. They were able to drive back to Rio. They were able to Google how to get rid of a body, gather cleaning supplies, drive back over to Trapper's Cove, throw the body into a dumpster, clean it head to toe, ungodly mess, spray paint it, drive it back. They did all that in 2 hours. That's your testimony, sir, correct? And you send him 3 texts, and I think you call him on his 239 number. Isn't that correct, sir? And in fact, sir, when you talked to the detectives, you told them, yeah, I texted him the next afternoon. Isn't that correct, sir? You told the detectives that. And you see, sir, you bald-faced lied about everything to the detectives except that. Isn't that correct, sir? And now what you're doing, sir, is you're coming in and you're blaming this murder on a deceased person by the name of Sticka. Isn't that correct, sir?
Absolutely.
Okay, a deceased person, sir, who could never be charged with this information that you're giving because he's deceased. Is that correct, sir? Is that what you're doing here, sir?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, and what you do, sir, for a living is you play cards. You are a gambler. You are a bluffer. Isn't that correct, sir?
What was the reason why you would lie to the police about your address?
Well, at the time I was selling marijuana.
And you admit that you lied to the police about the cutting out of the carpet in the Yukon, is that right?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Trying to distance myself from anything that had to do with that situation.
Were you afraid or worried at the time that you would be implicated though because it was your vehicle?
I'm sorry,
100%.
I can't hear you.
100%.
100%.
Thank you.
Today at 9:15, they provided us another question, and I met with counsel in chambers, and that question was, I would like to see the call record on January 13, 2025 at 6:34:05 a.m. Line 358 on the Excel sheet. WJJ's phone calling Andrew Watson's between Willie James Jr. 517 to Andrew Watson's 323. Is there any further record on behalf of counsel?
That's all accurate, and the people have no objections to how all of those matters were held and conducted.
Nothing additional on those matters, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any additional matter we need to address prior to entrance of the jurors?
Nothing for the people, thank you.
All right, the jurors, please. And meanwhile, we need everyone to make sure your phones are off and no chatter, no talking. If you want to talk, please exit the courtroom. The court reporter needs to take everything down. I have law enforcement here. If anybody wants to begin chattering, they'll take you by way of the jail. So I don't know what this verdict's going to be. It's in the hands of the capable jury. No disruptions in this courtroom. Juror 1, you are the foreperson.
Yes.
Was the jury able to reach a verdict?
Yes.
Please read it into the record.
People versus Willie James Jr., case number 230029 FC, verdict. Guilty of second-degree murder.
Thank you. You may be seated. On behalf of counsel, would you like the jury polled?
Yes, please.
Polling of the jury asks 2 questions. You each need to answer each question. The first question is, was the verdict that was just read your individual decision? And the second question is, was it the verdict, the decision of the whole jury pool of all 12 of you? Juror 1, your answer to each question?
Yes. And yes.
Juror 3, Yes, and yes. Juror 4,
Yes, and yes.
juror 5, juror 6,
Yes, yes.
juror 8,
Yes, and yes.
juror 9,
Yes, and
juror 10,
yes, and yes.
juror 11,
Yes, and yes.
juror 12,
Yes, and yes.
juror 13,
Yes, and yes.
juror 14.
Yes, and yes.
Thank you. Sir, bond is revoked. You are remanded to the Ingham County Jail.